Well, hello class. It is the last week. Oh my God, we made it. Well, I have to do my homework now and give you an update on the state of healthcare IT, or at least kind of an update on the hot topics that are in the industry and are currently being talked about or explored as we are making progress in our industry. First thing I want to at least bring up is that the US CDI is now in its fourth iteration. Version 1 is still the law of the land, and that's the requirement for current EHRs. But every year, as we know, it's being updated, and the fourth version now has so many additions, a lot of which mirror what many of you have suggested in the class during our assignments. For instance, drug and alcohol intolerances and mentions of SOGI and SDOH data. Some neat things I found also were the inclusion of care team members to understand who is working with the patient. Lots of new information on encounters, which will help us for a variety of things, not just exchanging data, but also analysis, which is the kind of thing I work on. But also bringing in insurance and the ability to pay, which also is intermingled with SDOH. So that's a lot of exciting work there. And along the lines of SDOH data, the NCQA, National Committee for Quality Assurance, if I got that right, is building or has built an accreditation program for providers to push forward the notion that cultural change has to be made within the provider community. And there's a base credential and a plus credential for the providers to work on the culture around health equity work, make the organization more sensitive to different cultures and language needs, so we can help give them better care, make sure they don't have duplicate records and so forth, and then really to be on the lookout for other opportunities to improve health equities. That takes us into the SDOH world that ONC and others have been pushing forward quite a bit. I mentioned in US CDI how SDOH data is becoming more widespread, and a lot of that is due to the push by ONC to have the industry attack health equities from many different angles. Standards in data, we see ONC awarded a big contract to HL7 to expand the use of SDOH data and how we interoperate with HL7 and FHIR. And that is tied in with another project we'll talk about, Gravity, in a moment. But also ONC is driving the policy around this data, as well as what's required for the infrastructure and implementation of healthcare IT products. And CMS also has been encouraging providers to begin collecting this data as well through their coding. So a lot going on in the SDOH data world as it relates to standards and technology and new applications. Moving on to Gravity, that is a new organization that has been building up over the past couple years, and I've got a link for you to follow on LinkedIn, where I find the most convenient way to keep up to date with it. But you can also go to the Gravity website as well. But the idea here is they are building a consensus amongst all industry partners who will participate. And these are vendors, these are academic institutions, government agencies, etc., to really figure out the standards that should apply for collecting and labeling SDOH data. It's directly related to what HL7 is doing under contract to ONC. So a real deep dive in the past year or two on SDOH data, it's quite exciting, because we should see some movement in the collection and then the analysis of how to improve healthcare for those underserved populations. So it's kind of exciting. The last thing I want to talk about at this very late hour on Sunday, I'm turning my homework in at the last possible minute, go figure, but generative AI continues to be the talk of not just in healthcare, but all throughout many verticals, many industries. Just some examples that have been in the press lately. You've probably seen a lot of them, but for those hospitals that use Salesforce.com as a customer relationship management tool, CRM, Salesforce is using generative AI to help with the cataloging of that data as well as the summarization of it. Meditech is partnered with Google for doing medical record search and summarization. And we've all probably seen the news that Epic is partnering with Microsoft for note summarization, productivity tools, revenue cycle management, and a whole host of other things that they're exploring. It's still very, very early with applying these tools to healthcare, but we see all of the major players making moves and exploring how to leverage the technology. Looking at generative AI from outside of healthcare and from the venture capital community, we have noticed that the industry, the funding rather, for healthcare IT projects or solutions in healthcare IT, I should say, that leverage generative AI, whether it's building a large language model themselves or just using the API for applying it to healthcare technology, which is what the bulk of the startups are doing. Not creating new models, but leveraging the models. But what is going on in the industry is the amount of funding rounds has dropped by almost a third since the last quarter to this quarter. Now that's might be a normal ebb and flow, but you can look at the report in the citation and see for yourself. But it is an indicator that the venture capitalists might be over the frenzy of generative AI, and therefore we'll see less possible startups in this space. Who knows? It's still really, really early, as several of the VCs point out in the article, but there is a definite trend that funding is dropping. So that's it for the hot takes. I have promised to keep these videos short, and I hope I did with this one. But nonetheless, it's been a great pleasure to have you in class. Thank you so much for all the interaction with each other and with me on the discussion boards. And I look forward to seeing you guys again in the future. Connect on LinkedIn, keep my contacts, let's stay in touch.